my first thought when we were talking about Hellboy was somewhere between Hulk and Dante from Devil May Cry, and I'm like, you know, the more you get into it, you're like, well, he's not really spry, he doesn't really do juggling, he's not a big gun guy. So we definitely went more towards the Hulk side of things. We drew everything from the comic books. I mean, one of the first conversations we had with those guys, they were like, look at the Conqueror Worm book, think about the characters in there, think about the stories, and they're like, this is stuff we probably would never use in a movie, so you wouldn't be stepping on our toes, and it was perfect. I mean, we try to make, sort of equate each level to roughly like what you would read if you were reading a single comic book. It has a start, a middle, and an end, but there is an overarching story, that ties the whole thing together. And so we drew all the settings and all the locations and all the time periods and that kind of thing, and referred back to the books for all the enemies. We're putting a lot of effort into the enemy AI. I mean, it's not going to be so complex that it's like you see a scripted pattern at every time, but you want to see behaviors that you can identify when the enemies come after you. And then the other thing is, Hellboy's going to interact with each enemy type in a very different way. And I think that's one of the things that will keep it really interesting. And, you'll know as you play through the game that, like, all right, well, the best way to kill this guy is this, so I'm going to try and get in there and do that. And part of the way we're doing that is through grappling moves. I mean, he's got his combat system, he's got his rage elements when he builds up his right-handed doom and the rage, and that, gives him a secondary level of power for everything he does. I think graphically, specifically, Chrome had a big advantage in the fact that their current-gen technology was so mature, and they've shipped so many games, and they're a great cross-platform developer. And I think you can really see that when you look at the game, because graphically, I think it really stands up well against everything that's out there for next-gen right now. We got to sit down with Mike Mignola and Guillermo and show them all the concept art that the guys at Chrome did. And, the guys at Chrome were nervous, and I was nervous, because you go in and showing this stuff, and you're like, well, I think it looks good, but I don't know what these guys do. And they thought it all looked great. And, I think the highest compliment we got was that those guys looked at it and go, this is a little creepy even for me. And they're like, all right, then we met our goal here. We're definitely planning on doing downloadable content. I'm only allowed to tell you that the game's coming out in 2007, which you probably already knew. That's what the PR guys told me to tell you, so it's a terrible answer.